At exactly 3 minutes after 4 o'clock, you in tune to rather station WBAI 99.5 FM New York, WBAI.RG. Don DeBar, how are you?
Very well, how you doing?
How are you feeling this morning? How are you feeling this morning?
My hand.
I thought you'd be feeling with your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad, not bad. Do you have me on a speakerphone or what's the combination?
Yeah.
It's muffled. Totally muffled. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right. Now I can see you. You got your pants on. You got your pants on. You feeling with your hands. I like that.
Yes.
Don, we missed you. We missed you. We missed you. We missed you. It's like in cricket. Bowl the ball, the man bat the ball for 6, you catch it and you throw it to hit the wicket, and he's running in between the wickets and you miss the wickets. Boom.
Yep.
And he scores. Down the bar, you're back.
You're back for a long journey, man.
Yeah, you're back.
Real interesting stuff too.
I know, you're back like my favorite track star. She's more incredible than Usain Bolt. She just ran the 100 meters and won it. You know, the Jamaican descendant who represents Estados Unidos Imperialistico smoked smoked a big head spliff because her Jamaican mother died. And they disqualified her, Don. They kicked her out of the race.
Why?
But she came back. She came back. And she came back much better. Amazing. So much been happening, Don. So much been happening. I'm half asleep, so you're gonna have to carry the load for me today because I was busy watching the X of the X's, D Santimonus versus the other clones. You know what was amazing was when one of them, with no evidence, no proof whether the man is dead or alive, but they said Putin killed him.
No.
Amazing. Amazing.
I have a friend that lives in Russia who was just telling me that same thing, and I was trying to explain, I don't know if people remember Dag Hammarskjol. Dag Hammarskjol was the Secretary General of the United States who died in a plane crash in the middle of trying to make peace in what used to be called Belgian Congo. The Congo had thrown out the Belgian colonialists after a brutal history with them, one of the most brutal colonial periods in the history of the world, actually. Millions and millions of people murdered by the Belgians in Congo. And they threw them off in the middle of what they called then the decolonialization period of the 50s and early 60s. And as this happened, there was a part of the country called the Congo province that had some materials that were very valuable and they made Belgium like a player in the global economy. And suddenly, as the country independence or was struggling for independence from Belgium, there was a quote-unquote civil war that broke out in Katanga province, which attempted to secede from Congo and was then going to continue to supply these materials to Belgium. And so there was a nationalist government that came to power in Congo, led by Patrice Lumumba, and the Secretary General of the United Nations, Dag Hammarskjol, had been asked to try to make some sort of peace there so that it didn't break out out of hand with the secession and the war and all of that. And at first he refused, and then for some reason he changed his mind and decided in September of 1961 to go to Katanga province, or actually went to Ndola, which is now in Zambia, to try to arrange some sort of a truce and a peace deal. And this is after Lumumba had been captured and murdered in December 1960. Well, he was captured in December 1960. He was murdered in February, I think. And while the Secretary General was on this peace mission, which was being taken against the wishes of the United States, the United States wanted to see the Congo province secede, to settle the business, because even though they killed Lumumba, the business of control of the Congo was not settled. They wanted to have the Civil War continue because they were directing events at that point in time. Hammarskjol went anyway to try to make peace, and when he took off from Ndola, in the airport in Ndola, his plane crashed. He died. Plane crash is apparently the means of execution of those who attempt to meddle in the colonial relationships between the United States and Africa. And so when I heard there was a plane crash, so I don't know if people are aware of this, but it's only the past few, there have been rumors for months now that Wagner Group, which is what Burnw, the person who died in the plane crash we're talking about, he was the head of it. It was a private paramilitary group. And this private paramilitary group had recently, for months it's been rumored that they were talking with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. These are part of the group that are resisting the attempt by ECOWAS, which is a group of African nations that is pretty much controlled by the U.S. in the same way that the Organization of American States, or the OAS, is in this hemisphere. And Niger had recently what's in essence a coup d'etat by the military, who threw out a president who's been a bootlicking comprador of France in order to try to settle or remedy the horrible situation of the people of Niger. Which is, in essence, they act as miners to provide, miners as in mining operations, to provide uranium to France to power its nuclear reactors. That is, in the eyes of France and the operative history of the relationship between Niger and France, the purpose of the people of Niger to serve up uranium for France. Niger had a military that decided enough was enough, and they threw this guy out about a month or two ago now. And the outcry from France, and who reasserted itself during the Obama administration as a colonial power in North Africa. Cote d'Ivoire, for example, when they dragged President Laurent Gbagbo out of the presidential palace at gunpoint in order to put an end to his effort to have the African nations still have France printing their currency, to print their own currency, to put an end to that. It preceded by a couple of months the attack on Libya, which in essence destroyed the independent African Union and gave you the puppetry that you have now. France has been, since the destruction of Libya, reasserting itself across North and West Africa, which used to be its colonies, and in many ways has remained its colonies economically. Anyway, so I'm going kind of far afield just to give people some context, because most people don't know any of this stuff. When they're looking at the newspaper, they have no idea what the hell they're looking at. So what we have now is a situation where there's a wave of resistance in northern and western Africa, for sure. And we're seeing it across Africa with the BRICS conferences taking place in South Africa. I don't know if people have been watching President Ramaphosa the last few days.
That's been going on for the past 2 days, right? The BRICS conference.
Yep, that's right. It opened formally on Tuesday. And with people, they've been gathering there since the weekend, really, and different things coming out. So anyway, Burnw, just a little background on him. This private military group of his was very active in Ukraine and working sort of hand in glove with the Russian military, and very successfully liberated a couple of the major territories from the U.S.-backed junta that rules Ukraine right now. And there was a point in time where apparently there was a dispute. Rogozin, he's a big ego. He apparently decided that he was in a position to march on Moscow with his own troops to negotiate some sort of an agreement between his paramilitary group and the Russian government. And he, sort of trying to do a Julius Caesar. He never got across the Rubicon. He was intercepted, and he was arrested, or in any event, escorted to Moscow. And rather than being prosecuted, which would have caused some sort of a disruption, certainly, in the war effort in Ukraine at that moment, there was an arrangement made where he would go into exile, quote unquote, in Belarus, which is really about as related to Russia like the U.S. and Canada. Like if you were to be exiled to Canada, you might not like it because it's cold, but it's really not much different than being in the United States, other than it's cleaner. And so there was an arrangement made where they sort of demobilized the Wagner group in and around Ukraine and Russia, and he would stay in Belarus. Well, anyway, apparently after that arrangement was reached, and there would be no prosecution. That was the deal. It was like a plea bargain almost. And so he has had the Rogozin group, Wagner group, has been active elsewhere, and they've been contracting with some of the various governments in Africa to help them defend themselves against AFRICOM and others. And people may not know what AFRICOM is either. During the Obama administration, America's first black president had as one of his primary goals to recolonialize Africa on behalf of the United States and all that represents. Some folks say he was a servant of white supremacy. Those folks mostly live in Africa, however, because they're on the business end of it. The destruction of Libya and Côte d'Ivoire, the conquest of Côte d'Ivoire, essentially set forth a dynamic where AFRICOM, the African command of the U.S. military, which was based and headquartered still in Stuttgart, Germany, it really had no presence, a very, very minor presence on the African continent, because nobody wanted the U.S. military in their country in Africa. When Obama finished his second term in office, AFRICOM had commanded control of more than 35 countries' military in Africa. AFRICOM is placed all over Africa, and then nations of Africa now are starting to, the people in the nations of Africa now are starting to resist it. I don't know, people have an understanding of how colonial relations work these days, neo-colonialist model, whatever. Not much different from the old, actually, in terms of the essence of this. You have a government that is imposed in one way or another, whether by trickery or at the point of a gun or other things in between, that has a whole rhetorical posture that, is for the consumption by the people, and then the actual role that they have, which is to help imperialism suck the blood out of their countries at the expense of the people there. You have a public relations game that fools people, and then you have the reality of people's blood being sucked that they happen to notice most of the time themselves. As dumb as we may be, we notice when we can't afford food or clothing or shelter, and our children are hungry and burdened with student debt, etc. And so this has been going on since the decolonialization period, so-called, where independence meant a new form of colonial exploitation. And it's kind of at a breaking point. The blood has been sucked out of most of the people, too many of the people in Africa, where they're standing up again and pushing back against these governments that have acted as more or less quislings for imperialism. And this is what's happened in Niger right now. And Rogozin decided to deal himself in, and some wonder, I wonder, if this isn't also Russia playing the same game that the U.S. does with Al-Qaeda and, ISIS and whatever other flavor of jihadi they use, and a variety of other forms of proxy war.
Amazing. We're speaking to Don DeBar right here. He's back right here where he belongs on Burn Baby Burn at exactly 18 minutes after 4 o'clock. Got to remind you that you have to. Don, I got to do this. Got to remind them that it's 388 Atlantic Avenue on the 3rd floor, the floor with the ganja view, Brooklyn, New York, 11217. That's 11217. To send all the pledges in to keep 99.5 WBAI Pacific at its very best, alive and going. Very important. 212-209-295 North is the number. 212-209-2950 is the number to do this giving from the willing. GIVE numeral 2 WBAI.org. You have to do it at the $100 level, and it will go through the buddy system, done hard and stiff, could I never miss. Every month it will go click into the coffers of our Pacifica Radio WBAI. You will not hear commentary like what you just sampled away a while ago from Don DeBar. Don, we're running out of time, 19 minutes after the hour, but quickly, there is, sorry to shift up on you, but Zimbabwe goes to the polls yesterday and today in deepening economic crisis. The polls have been extended because in Harare and Bulawayo, people have been waiting from 4 hours to 5 hours, some places 12 hours just to vote. And when they get to vote, they run out of ballots and things like that. So they decided to extend it. Yeah. It seems like the opposition is going to win this one. What do you think? The opposition is going to win this one?
Well, I don't know. I mean, when you have polling data and other things that are broadcasting a message that is exactly in accord with what the CIA and the U.S. government want, not necessarily in that order, you have to look at it with, a little bit like maybe these polls are cooked. And I'm remembering the polling data around the 2016 election. There wasn't a single poll that ever said that Trump would win the election, and of course he did. So but the Russians will hack the Zimbabwean election and the opposition won't win.
But the amazing thing about the current leader of Zimbabwe is he was the henchman for Mugabe. He murdered over 100,000 people in broad daylight. Got away with it, right?
I don't know. There's a particular portrayal of what happened in Zimbabwe and of Robert Mugabe that also comports with the CIA's vision of Africa.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to address that in a very short piece. I could go into detail, but... And
quickly, in Guatemala, the elections are over.
Yeah, and Ecuador, too.
And in Ecuador, the elections are over. 3 politicians, or should I say 3 candidates, shot dead in the days leading up to Ecuador, coming in like Jamaica, right?
Or the United States. Well, here they are.
Coming like United. Well, that's the future of Estados Unidos. I mean, just a matter of time to start doing that, right?
Yeah. That's right. Latin America, the so-called banana republics, as disparagingly refer to them. That's another. It's an example of bananas coming home to roost.
I know. How do you feel your bananas?
With my hand.
All right. 22 minutos, por favor, after 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Don, how do we stay in touch with you? I'm on
Facebook, Don DeBar, DONDEBAR. On Twitter, at Don DeBar, at DONDEBAR.
Right.
On YouTube, where I post my daily newscast for KPFK. It's youtube.com/Don DeBar, and on VK.com, that's VictorK.com, Don DeBar, D-O-N, new word, D-E-B-A-R.
Yeah, and by the way, Lisa sends her love. She's in Southern Carolina. And,
I saw that. That's looking good, too, man.
Yeah.
And settling into a nice new gig.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And she took her Italiano passe from Sicily with her. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the whole tribe. And I'm heading
You
down.
say Italiano. That's
Yeah,
not Italiano. That's Siciliano.
Si, capisci bene. Yeah, I'm heading down to Ocracoke to go running in the nude.
I know. That's right. Watch out. Keep your eye on the U.S. Shore Patrol.
Oh. I hope I don't take the wrong flight, right? I hear you.
You don't want to end up in Gitmo, brother, man.
No. Absolutely not. And quickly, just brief the folks what's happening to the BRICS. Over 40 countries are trying to enter it, kicking down the door.
Yeah.
23 countries have applied. The implication of that, Lula from Brazil says that they got to get themselves off the track of the, what they call it, the wetback, USA dollars.
Yeah.
They got
the essence of it is, a symbol. I mean, it's not just a symbol, it's a tool. But the essence of it is that the United States has the ability of the United States to conduct economic warfare against the rest of the world has to be taken away from it. There is an effort, in essence, to insulate these countries with this group from that danger. And it has already borne fruit. The currency may be a few years away, but the fact that these countries already provide each other with necessities that are supposed to be embargoed by the United States speaks volumes to the rest of the world about the ability to throw off the yoke of imperialism finally.
And basically, let's just be honest about the BRICS. It's basically a trade get-together sort of situation, isn't it?
They said, they've been emphasizing, look, this is not another bloc going to go to war with the West or whatever.
Exactly.
We are creating our own economic structure that we have the right to do.
Right.
And if you all want to trade with us, cool. And if you don't, cool. Peace. That's basically what they're saying.
That's right.
Yep.
Peter Tosh says it better for you, Don. How's your sister doing?
She's doing fine.
Give her my love. Give her my love.
Doing all right.
Yeah.
With everyone in your family, brother.
Definitely. And I'm playing this Peter Tosh especially for you. The day the dollar died, Don DeBar. By your favorite artist, the good old Peter Tosh. For you, Don. All right, take care. All the best. Ciao.
Have a great time down there.
Thanks, and I call you. Don DeBar, right here at 99.5. Yeah, Monk, your request. Yep. Peter Tosh on top of bricks.
Dollars that had heart attack.